And good evening. Thank you for joining us for the news at noon. I'm Tosin Fakile. That breaking news at the top is a press conference about to begin where top officials in Virginia try to talk about the points of why the new FBI headquarters should come to the Commonwealth. That press conference soon about to begin. We're going to go to that in a little bit. As you can see, officials are currently speaking right now. Let's take a listen.
Back to the Mission Compatibility of the Springfield site for FBI future headquarters. Mark.
Well, thank you, Tim, and Andrea and Irma, thank you for being here. We have about 35 or 40 folks who are part of our presentation. They may be trickling out. We've got to do this presentation, take a question or two, and then rush back because the IRS commissioner is up for a vote, and I think they need our votes so that we can make sure the IRS becomes a more useful and user-friendly entity. I'm going to start on equity and move through the criteria. We've already made mention of the Springfield itself being majority minority, other than English first language. Andrea represents parts of Prince William where Quantico is, again, majority minority. Arlington, Alexandria, hugely diverse populations. But one of the things that was really, I think, meaningful when we heard from President Washington at GMU and heard from Marymount, I challenge anyone. Marymount, one of the Hispanic serving universities, only a few in the whole country, 2/3 female. Huge number of language spoken at Marymount University. Those are the kind of people we need as FBI agents. George Mason. George Mason is the most, I think President Washington said, either one or two most diverse universities in the whole country. Don't believe me? Go to the George Mason campus and walk around, and you see the new face of Virginia, and you see the new face of Virginia there. We had an individual representing the Muslim community inside who talked about a 20-year partnership with the FBI in a community that is extraordinarily strong in Virginia. That we need that partnership. We need more FBI agents of multiple faiths. So we are happy to go against any location on the diversity standpoint. Needs of the FBI. It has been stunning to me that some have said that maybe the needs of the FBI somehow shouldn't be as considered so highly. In the end of the day, we're making it a 50-year decision for the men and women of the FBI. The idea that proximity to Quantico, I think there are 2,400 trips a day or a month or whatever, a week, and we'll clarify that. Come on back over here, guys. That's a relevant criteria. You can't take that away. I mean, matter of fact, Quantico has been mentioned on the FBI process at least the last 8 or 9 years in the federal documentation of language that has been bounced around along the way. We had a great long-term intelligence professional who I think spoke extraordinarily movingly about how after 9/11 we had the intelligence, but we didn't work together. And the idea that the need to have the FBI interact with the CIA, the ODNI, the NRO, the NGA, and a host of other entities that are in Northern Virginia that you all are not even cleared to know about is absolutely critical if we're going to build that community need. And we talk again about particularly the immigrant community that's moved in. They have moved into this community in Northern Virginia because Virginia, and we think about it back when we were governor, Governor Youngkin was with us today. Virginia made the investments that maybe other communities didn't on education. We have some of the greatest public schools in America in Northern Virginia. We've got the best high school in America in Northern Virginia. That's a plus. That is a plus for the FBI. And we had not only intelligence professionals, but FBI veterans speak to that. So we've talked about diversity. We've talked about a bit about the needs, the long-term needs of the FBI. Let me talk about the cost issue. The current tenet First conversation starting about moving the tenant in the public domain started in 1989. I'm chair of the Intelligence Committee. For 3 presidents, Obama, Trump, and Biden, the tenant has decided they need to move. They are moving regardless of what happens with the FBI decision. To indicate otherwise is just not true. And the cost of moving is going to take place regardless. So the idea that the FBI can come into this site federally owned and move quickly, and the economic development package that we put forward is second to none. Transportation. Tim and I joked a little bit that, with Glenn there, that traffic was better when we were governors. But traffic really wasn't better in the Springfield Mixing Bowl when we were governor. The idea of the literally hundreds of millions, it may have actually crossed over to the billion-dollar number in terms of transportation investments in the Mixing Bowl, hot lanes, 22 bus trips a day that go from this site exist, the metro right there, 4 different interstate highways that converge right there at Springfield on a transportation basis, whether you are riding, taking the bus, taking the train, riding a bike. This site is superior in all of those.
And that is Warner. You just heard from some of the top leaders in Virginia making that case about why the FBI headquarters should come to Virginia. He talked about diversity, mentioning Marymount University and George Mason University having a lot of diverse population. He also talked about the building that they are proposing in Springfield with the FBI headquarters could move to. The tenants there, they say, for the last 3 presidents will be moving out of that building regardless of the FBI decision. And Warner also goes on to mention that the building being available and the FBI being able to move in there pretty quickly is one of the reasons why that decision should be made. Now stay with us. Coming up in our next half hour, we'll have a recap of Maryland's pitch for the new headquarters to be placed in Prince George's County. And breaking now on Capitol Hill, personal and sensitive information of members of Congress and their staff could be at risk today after a reported data breach of the health insurance company that covers many federal employees. DC Now consumer reporter Ben Dennis has been investigating the apparent breach. And Ben, how widespread is this issue?
Hey there, Tosin. Good afternoon. Potentially thousands of insurance enrollees through the DC HealthLink program may have had their personal and very sensitive information compromised. That's according to this internal memo that we've obtained from a top administration official inside the U.S. House of Representatives. And the memo was sent yesterday afternoon to House staff. The size and scope of the breach reportedly unknown, but they did note the FBI confirmed hundreds of House members and staff did have their personally identifiable information stolen. The Associated Press reports a broker on an online crime forum claimed to have personal info of 170,000 DC HealthLink customers and offered to sell this for an unspecified amount of money. And the top House administration official who sent the memo about the breach says it does not appear that congressional members were the specific target of this attack. We should mention, meantime, members and staff are urged to contact major credit bureaus to freeze their family credit, protect their credit scores. They're Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. We'll have much more on this apparent data breach on Capitol Hill coming up on DC News Now at 5. But for now, we're live in the newsroom. Ben Dennis, back to you.
Thank you, Ben, for that important update. We're going to talk weather now. Meteorologist Damon Matson joins us now for the latest check on the forecast. And Damon, I came in earlier. It was freezing. Is it still cold outside, and when do things kind of change a little bit?
Well, Tosin, we're trying to warm things up out there with that sunshine, no question. Those chilly temperatures, that was one thing that we had to deal with. And something else we've dealt with the last few days that has really amplified that chill in the air. The winds, they finally calmed down last night. Now, we still aren't completely calm out there. A light northerly wind is hanging on across the 4-state region in DMV, but it's nothing too drastic, so we finally are not having to deal with those blustery winds. But it's enough that we are still a little bit cool out there, mid-40s along and west of the I-81 corridor. We have warmed up into the 50s in Frederick, D.C., and also down into southern Maryland, Waldorf there at 51 degrees. But we still have a little ways to go this afternoon, and it looks like we will continue to have a good amount of sunshine helping to bump up those temperatures. However, looking out on the horizon, we can already see the cloud cover from that next storm system looming off to our west. That will impact our conditions later on tonight, and we could even see a few clouds as we get later into the afternoon and evening. But that won't stop us here from at least reaching the mid to upper 50s, the warmest we've been for the last couple of days. And notice how it is continuing to stay rather quiet too, all the way into the evening time. But that storm system, it is going to get here by tomorrow morning. Are we still expecting the possibility of a few snowflakes as you begin your Friday? We'll have a full check of that forecast here in just a bit.
Say it ain't snow. Thank you, Damon. Well, Congress overturned D.C.'s crime bill. In a statement, Republican Senator Bill Hagerty of Tennessee said, quote, "Today, Congress sent a resounding message that we will not simply stand by while our nation's capital becomes a safe haven for violent criminals and a national embarrassment for American citizens," end quote. Now, this makes the first time in 30 years Congress has voted to block a D.C. law from taking effect. Our Lex Juarez has more on this move by Congress and reaction from lawmakers.
Well, that's right. Even people who were against the bill say they are just as against Congress interfering with local affairs. And what this really all comes down to is the fight for D.C. statehood. Well, hundreds rallied outside of the Capitol before the Senate casted their votes to call for Congress to keep its hands off D.C. But in a historic 81-14 vote, the Senate moved to block the law anyway. There were concerns over penalties that were changed in the bill, and while some said it was looser on crime, others argued it was actually tougher. Mayor Bowser was one of the people against the bill, but still did not want Congress acting on local affairs. She spoke about what was going on in Congress yesterday afternoon before the vote was taken. Here's what she had to say.
I am not happy that the Congress is intervening in our laws. I am not happy about this discussion at all. And I hope that, and it was my fervent hope that my concerns with the crime bill would have been addressed locally. But what we should all be prepared to do is to stop talking about a dead bill and get to work to get it right.
Well, the resolution now heads to the president's desk to be signed, and while President Biden does have the power to veto the resolution, he said if it passed through Congress, he would not do so. In Washington, I'm Lex Juarez, D.C. News Now.
And in Montgomery County, a crash that sent people to the hospital shut down portions of Cherry Hill Road for several hours. Montgomery County Fire and Rescue Services said the rollover crash was at the intersection of Cherry Hill Road and FDA Boulevard in Calverton. Look at that terrible crash. Some involved in the crash were taken to the hospital. Cherry Hill Road is now fully reopened to traffic.